So when I work with people now, I notice that when anyone has an ambitious goal, like I'm going to create this company, or this is what I'll write my book, I can almost feel under it is a pattern that says, so that I'm not unworthy.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And I believe if you try to start anything from the bearing of that pattern,
Absolutely.
life is going to knock it down.
Absolutely. Or you'll get it and it won't bring you any joy.
Right.
The happiness will be counterfeit. It only lasts for 5 minutes.
Yes. That's why so many people are starting projects and stopping them.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and blessings, everyone. I love saying that. Peace and blessings. Peace is the dynamic of harmonizing good. It's a quality that is seeking to express through you. And peace is everywhere, except where it is suppressed by limited perception. Blessings is a confirmation of life upon you, more life on you. Peace and blessings. We're going to go into the life question of the week as I'm welcoming you to Take Back Your Mind podcast. I am your host, Michael Beckwith. In just a few moments, I'm going to have my friend Kyle Cease in conversation with him. If you don't know who he is, you're going to love him. Comic turned transformational comic turned transformational teacher. Love this brother. Love him. Now, the life question of the week. This is Dee from Watsonville, California. And she asked this: I've been working with my current employer for the past year. Although I am earning the most money I've ever made in my life thus far, the job has been mentally, physically, and spiritually draining. I desire to create an abundance of residual income so I do not have to subjugate myself to this situation in the future. Do you have any words of encouragement to help me now, as I work with my employer, that will help me push me forward into my true unfolding? Listen, there's a couple of things I want to say to you. I mean, right off the bat, if this is tearing down your soul, then you need to look at your escape plan to find something higher, and this is how you do it. One, and I say this about anything to anybody, you always want to fall in love with what you don't want to do. I should say it this way. You wouldn't fall in love with what you have to do. If there's some things in your life you know you have to do it, you can fall in love with it so that you're looking forward to it. I don't know if that's applicable to this job. You have to look at it and see what is mentally draining about it, what's pulling on you. Is it something that's against your integrity, or is it just something you just don't want to do, or is it a boss that is humiliating? I don't know the details, but I know in life, in the regular world, there's some things we don't like to do. You train yourself to fall in love with what you don't like to do. It creates an energy to propel you out of any circumstance that no longer is feeding you, or you don't need to belong there anymore. Secondly, look at this position that you have as funding your vision. So that means what? You have to have a vision. Your vision just can't be, I need enough money so I don't have to work anymore. That's not a vision for why you've came to the planet. There's something in you that wants to express itself. There's a gift you want to give. There's a talent you want to explore. And it's a part of your vision for being on the planet. And so you say to yourself, this particular position right now, it's funding that. But you have to begin to ask, what is it within me that is trying to emerge? What gift am I to give? What is the next step in my unfoldment? This job is funding that. So now you have praying to fall in love with what you don't want to do. 2, this job that you have is funding my vision. 3, you want to hold your employer in prayer, not complaining, not just thinking bad things about him or her, you would hold them in prayer so that you're beginning to see and cultivate the ability to see that which is good with him or in her. So if in fact you pray to fall in love with what you have to do, you realize that this particular position is funding your vision, and two, you're praying for the individual because they may be giving you a lesson that you need to learn. I remember I was working for the mayor of Los Angeles many years ago, and I was working in a particular councilmanic office, and there was a woman that was temporarily my supervisor. She was extremely intolerant, mean, cutting. It was a terrible thing to go to work. But she gave me the muscles for unconditional love, patience. There were some qualities that grew out of my relationship with her that would not have grown if I did not have a person like her in my life. I look back on her now as a blessing because of the personality construct that she came with. She was doing the best that she can do. She wanted a good job to be done, but her way of communicating that to me was nasty. So you know what it trained me? I don't communicate that way to people. I try to communicate with love, even if it's tough stuff I have to say. She gave me that. She also helped me cultivate the muscles in myself of unconditional love. And eventually I just fell in love with the individual. And I would, later on in life, visit her in the hospital when she was very sick and developed a whole nother relationship with her. So that's what I have to offer you, Dee, from Watsonville, California. Have a bright day. We'll be right back with Kyle Cease. Peace and blessings, everyone. As I said earlier, I'm going to have Kyle Cease with me today. And he's here. This is him. This is him in person, not on Zoom, but in real life, real time. Kyle Cease. In case you don't know who Kyle Cease is, let me give you a brief introduction. New York Times bestselling author Kyle Cease. He has a gift, emerging comedy and personal transformation. As a comedian, he had 2 Comedy Central specials and was voted as the #1 ranking on Comedy Central's Stand-Up Showdown. Listen, after leaving his job as an award-winning comedian, Kyle dedicated his life to helping others and created Evolving Out Loud, which is a growing community of over 400,000 members worldwide. He has personally coached over 15,000 people. 15,000 people?
A lot of people.
Wow. And his YouTube videos have been watched over 60 million times. Now his mom watched 30 million of those times.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
I doubt that. I doubt she maybe watched a couple.
Watched a couple, yeah.
And was like, all right, fine.
Enough. He's made over 100 TV and movie appearances, including Jimmy Kimmel Live, and his speaking events regularly fill large venues across the United States. I've had the privilege of being on a couple of those stages with him. He's also spoken with renowned teachers like Eckhart Tolle, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Marianne Williamson, Michael Beckwith, among many others. He's also been a guest speaker at thousands of colleges, summits, and Fortune 500 conferences. And I just saw this beautiful video of him and his daughter singing. It's really beautiful. Mm-hmm. He's continually inspired by his daughter. If putting it simply, he would say that he is ever evolving out loud and on a journey to constantly find out the truth of who he is. This is my friend, Kyle Cease. Kyle, welcome to Take Back Your Mind.
Take back your mind.
Because the mind has been stolen and hijacked by fear, worry, doubt. So we come together and have a conversation about, we have a mind. We're not the mind, but we want to take it back so it becomes an avenue of awareness.
I love that.
So
take back your heart too.
Your heart, your mind. Your soul. Take back everything.
Take back the now.
Take back your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are obviously, the most influential, person. For me, I was a comic for years, and then when I went through the shift and this inner shift that I was going through, where I realized there's something even higher trying to happen than the dream career I had as a stand-up comic.
Right.
That you can even outgrow your dream career.
Right.
That there's a calling that's always happening now that might be different than what your plans were before. And as I was going through that, someone took me to Agape one time, and I saw you speak, and it was so amazing, and it was just the start of everything for me. and getting to know you and getting to work with you and collaborate with you. One way that I started my transformation was speaking at Agape.
Right.
And combining comedy and transformation. I was like, you don't have to throw out the comedy, but I'm not doing the clubs anymore. Something new is happening. And you created this amazing place and then this platform that I could go and show off what I did. And one of the things that was amazing about that was I noticed how many people in the audience were people that when I was in the old field, I was always trying to get to, you know, whether it was producers, club owners, whatever. Right. And all of a sudden, I'm just in this direct thing where I'm working with you, and so much more success happened as a byproduct when I threw away the old thing. And one of the things that I learned was working with a friend of mine, Diego, in that time, when you let go of something, the only reason you're stressed is your mind can tangibly measure what you will lose, but it can't see what you'll gain.
Never. It's the ego.
Yeah.
It's always monitoring what you may lose if you go for it or let go.
Right. And you know what's even more? I have in my mind now, if I know that I can't see what will happen, I know it's the right thing.
Yeah.
If I can't see the specifics, that means it'll unfold in front of me.
Yeah.
If I know what I'll get, then my ego's making the decision.
Yes.
I'm making it because I can see the evidence of what I'll get. And so now I literally move based on a feeling.
Yes.
Not evidence.
Right.
Right? I can feel a calling saying, let go of this. I don't even know why. And it's never not been right.
You're speaking pure metaphysics here, pure mysticism.
Yeah.
Because if you can see it, as you said, that's the personality dealing in the realm of the known.
Right.
But if you're going with a larger feeling of it, you're going into the unknown.
Right.
That means you become shocked and surprised about the good that gets to flow in your life.
Right.
And you've never experienced it before.
And how about this? Anything you can let go of isn't a part of you anyway.
Right.
Right? So anything you can even see is something that you're the one that's seeing, so it's not you.
Right.
So a construct you have about you with a certain amount of success from the past, or the story of you in that old job, whatever, once you see it, it's falling off of you.
Right.
Right? Just the act of that already means it's not you. And so and everything that falls off, I notice, is just replaced by God. Like, it's not like that just goes away and there's a void.
Right.
It goes away, and whatever in me was holding on to it falls out with it.
Absolutely.
I cry that thing out.
Right. Absolutely.
Alchemize something, and then there's more the God you, the now you.
Absolutely.
And weirdly, that God you is so much more capable of doing amazing things than the most I'm going to strive to make it happen you.
You can't figure it out.
Yeah.
You can't plan it out.
Right.
You can't make it happen. In the visible world, you can make things happen.
Right.
But you're still curating a life with a limited connection to reality.
Yes.
That changeless presence, life, beauty, that's everywhere. You're only dealing with a little tiny bit of it.
Right.
But why not open yourselves up to all of it?
Right.
But many people are afraid of bliss.
Yes,
because
there's death to
the circuits aren't strong enough to hold it.
Well, and it would also be death to everything you identify yourself as.
Right.
Like if you grew up in a family that told you money doesn't grow on trees, or don't be so happy, or many of those terms are so funny to me, like the term too big for your britches.
Yeah, no.
What that means is you're getting too big for your old story.
Right.
But if you think about how breeches or pants work,
right.
I have a 6-year-old daughter. At one point, she outgrows them, and you throw out the breeches.
Right.
You don't shrink her back down.
You don't shrink her back down.
Yeah.
You're too big for the breeches. Stop eating.
And I realize the people that tell you you're too big for the breeches, they're the breeches.
Yeah.
They're saying you're too big for me.
Right.
For my egoic story.
Right.
And when you finally receive the bliss of what you are, it does cause the death of the story of, I have to be protecting myself from my childhood, and this is how I do it. Like I believe we've created a protector, right? Yeah. Or an achiever or a fixer.
Sure.
You have a moment of trauma. Like if you're a kid and you get a bad grade and your dad hits you, let's say.
Yeah.
You might create a character, right? That goes, okay, I need to make sure that doesn't happen again. So you become this overachiever. Then you make the mistake of saying
that's who I am.
That's who I am.
That's a misidentification.
That can't go away now.
That's a coping mechanism.
Right.
Yeah.
That can go away because if it dies, then you die.
Right.
But it's just a pattern. And what we don't understand is quite a bit of the patterns we created were to bury, I don't want to be hit or shamed or abandoned again. And you know what's funny is what I think about with 2020. That was the beginning of us going into the lower, darker areas. Meaning, like, I feel like in an old consciousness, the highest we had was to think positive, which was great, and we needed it. It was actually a step up from a victim mindset to go into an achiever, as you would say, by me.
Yeah, the manifester, and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah. Up until 2020, we had our circumstances just decent enough to not have to really look within. A lot of people, especially like in America, could have had a decent enough job, had the ability to travel, go to restaurants when you want, walk into a store without a mask on.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, no matter what you think politically what was happening, if you look at what God was doing, it goes, okay, I'm going to make you stay in your house for 2 years. I'm going to make you not have the ability to do these other external things. And I feel like up until 2020, in a way, humanity was water skiing on top of the ocean of their soul, but never going in it.
Never going deep.
And it was almost like we had a one-story house, and our goal was to make it the best house and achieve the best house. In 2020, it goes, we're going to go deeper. And the good news is there's a second story. The bad news is there's rats, and we got to clean it out.
Got to clean some stuff out. But
the good news is your ability to see is bigger. You're looking more through the now.
If you go down there, if you do the work.
Yes. And there's a split right now. Some people don't want to look at it, so they're going to be addictioning themselves.
That's called flyover territory.
Right.
They're doing flyover, but they don't want to really look at themselves. They want to just fly over it.
And I'm like, show me whatever you got.
Right.
Yeah. One sentence I told myself that changed my life was merge me with my soul no matter what the cost.
Rhythmia. That's what we say at Rhythmia.
Yeah, that's Jerry told me to say that.
Yeah.
And I did. And weirdly, COVID started a week later, and all kinds of stuff I went through was going on. And it made me, and all of humanity in a way, let go of things that they thought were them, a specific relationship, your parents' opinion of you, family members, and different things. And in doing that, all the trauma suddenly has to come up.
Yeah.
That's childhood trauma, that thing you went through.
Yeah.
You were able to attach to other things and not ever have to look at it.
Right.
But all it killed was the false you.
When you made up to protect yourself from the
Right.
withstanding the blows of life.
Right.
Yeah.
And I look at this time as like, a lot of people think this time there is, of course, challenges, but this is the most exciting time because we're looking through a bigger lens.
Yeah.
And the only challenge is that everything existed before now, just no one knew it.
Right.
Now we see it.
Right.
Not only in ourselves, but collectively, in the media, in the government, and,
Oh, right. Because if you go back a number of years ago, it would take 5 to 10 years for a truth to be revealed.
Right.
Now it's instant.
It's instant.
You can look at a politician and know he's lying right now.
Right.
Whereas a number of years ago, you'd find out 5 years, oh, that guy was telling a lie, or he was taking money from corporations in order to do this, that, and the other. Now it's all right there. It's so easy to see. It's all transparent.
And you had given unconsciously all this authority to them.
Yeah.
Right? Just who do I give authority to? Who's the partner that's the authority?
Right.
Who's the
politician or
politician,
whatever. Yeah.
The media.
They just project all the power out there.
Yes.
And all of those people that you've mentioned, they work for us.
Right.
Even on a literal level, they work for us.
And it's so bright now. That every person's got to be looking at that.
Right.
Even if you don't want to, even if you don't want to, it's still right there in the room.
It's right there.
Versus the old days when you had 3 channels that told you what the news is.
Right. And now, that's a whole nother conversation. But did you grow up religious or spiritual, or
I didn't.
Uh-huh.
I grew up with a family that was big in the entertainment industry. My dad's uncle was the prop man for Gallagher. You remember Gallagher, the sledgehammer comedian? And his mom was a famous puppeteer. She was on the Carol Burnett show and did really cool stuff. I have an uncle that's a jazz musician who's amazing. And what that did was created a field for me that it's a given that I could be an entertainer.
You can do this, yeah.
And made it a normal thing. My dad was incredible at just creating companies out of thin air. I would watch him just literally come up, this is the idea, and then this huge company would form out of nothing.
Right.
And so that luckily was also filed in my body, that I'm just a constant creator. So I was doing stand-up at 12 years old and working frequently at 12. And at 15, I remember having this moment where I said to a comic, I said, how do comics make good money? And he said, well, corporate parties. And he goes, but you're probably too young. I just heard the first part. How do I do corporate parties? Yeah. And I was like, Okay, well, there's the Chamber of Commerce. That's where companies meet. So when I was 15, I was in Redmond, Washington. I called the Chamber of Commerce and I said, could I get the mailing labels for all the businesses? And they said, yeah, it's $25 or whatever. And then I made a flyer and said, having a corporate party, looking for entertainment, call Kyle Cease. And I sent it out to 500 people. At 15 years old, I'm suddenly doing Sears, Nintendo, Microsoft, Lexus, like giant corporate party. I think they were shocked when a kid showed up.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But
and did you negotiate the fee?
Yeah,
beforehand?
we'd sit there and, this is my price. And it was funny because I didn't develop any stage fright or you can't do that till I was a grown up. Because I started as a kid, it was just a given.
Right.
And I just would create everything out of thin air. I remember making a demo tape to do voiceovers for radio and kids games, and I put it inside a Cracker Jack box, and I sent it to all the producers in Seattle. All of a sudden, I'm doing kids educational voiceovers, for computer games.
You had no in you. It was just all possibility.
The best thing was I was oblivious to the way that we think that says it's not that easy.
Right.
There was none of that in me.
That had gotten caught in your brain yet.
Right. And my first audition was for a movie that I booked called 10 Things I Hate About You. It's a huge teen movie.
Yeah.
I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a headshot.
Right.
I didn't have any experience, but I didn't know that's a problem.
Right.
So when I went in there, I was just like, they're so lucky to have me. And I was just this absolutely unconscious.
You've been in a lot of movies too, right?
There's a lot of movies and TV appearances and different things on Comedy Central and stuff. But yeah, 10 Things I Hate About You was a big one. Also not another teen movie. But the funny thing was I never used all the, you have to do it this way, you have to have an acting coach, you have to have an agent. In fact, when I moved to LA after I booked those movies, I got an acting coach. And they told me, you can't just do it that way, you can't do that. And I couldn't book anything for years.
Because they tried to fit you into a box.
They wanted me to become exactly like you. They wanted me to, you have to say the line exactly how they want it. And it almost took away the Jim Carrey part of me that was the unique me.
Yeah.
And then I had to undo, all the, it's not that easy.
That's interesting. When I went to a school of ministry, I wouldn't take the how to speak class, the homiletics class. And the assistant dean said, you have to take this class. I said, no, I don't want to speak like anybody else.
Right.
I'm going to speak like me. And she said, well, what are we going to do about this? I said, I'm already doing seminars and things like that before they were even popular.
Yeah.
I said, I'll just give you a tape of what I'm doing, then you tell me if I need to take the class.
Yeah.
So I gave her the stuff, and she came back. She says, no, we don't need to take the class. She said, but can I take your seminar?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be pigeonholed. I mean, I don't be pigeonholed into you're supposed to talk like this, And so I understand.
Yes.
I understand that dynamic.
No, man. It's almost like that world has a given. There's not a source version of you, and man, do we know what we're doing. We just need to know that we know what we're doing.
Absolutely. Know the knower within.
Yes.
So living out loud, or is that
evolving out loud?
Evolving out loud.
Yes.
That emerged
when I let go of stand-up comedy.
Yeah. I remember when you were going through this transformation.
Yeah. The first thing I did, and none of this is an endorsement for a specific diet, because I believe the factor was actually that I was evolving. But what I did decide was, I said in 2010, I want to see what happens if I go raw vegan for 90 days. And I think the reason this was so profound for me was because as a child, I felt I got the most love and attention at restaurants. I felt like my dad was in his head more in the house, but when we went to a Mexican restaurant, I had my dad's presence, right? So I unconsciously associate love to restaurants and eating, right? So when I went raw vegan, that took that pattern away, because there were so many times where I just stay at home or I just, make something really quick. And for 90 days, I said, I'm going to go raw vegan. And if I eat one cooked thing or an animal product, I'll give away $10,000. That was my way of getting on the island and burning the boats.
You gave yourself a demerit or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And when I did that after the first 30 days, what was really crazy was someone walked by me with a hot dog and I smelled just chemicals and metal.
Yeah, you could smell it.
My taste buds changed. And I started going, what does this imply? That's a big question I ask. It's very close to what's trying to emerge out of me.
Yeah.
What does this imply? If your taste buds can change after 30 days, can you change your habits? Could you change? So I started noticing everything that felt slightly heavy or addictive, like being on Facebook or whatever. So I said, okay, no Facebook. So I started letting go. You can measure what you lose. You can't see what you'll gain. I got to about day 45. I was supposed to go do a comedy club that weekend, and I felt this frequency in me that used to get excited about it, feeling that it feels heavy. Like I was like, I don't want to get on a plane. I don't want to go sit next to a Applebee's for a week and then perform and do morning radio and all this. And I noticed that all of a sudden on a scale of 1 to 10, it dropped from being a 10 in my heart to like a 5, which means that I've ascended to a frequency where it's now heavy. So I had to follow the pattern of, okay, when you let go of it, you can measure what you lose, you can't see what you'll gain. So I told the comedy club, I'm not coming this week. I had no idea what I'd do, but it felt right.
Right.
The next week, I heard my body and my heart go, what if you combine comedy and transformation? Then I heard the ego, but the ego was quieter. The ego goes, yeah, no one's done it the way you want to do it. And my heart goes, yeah, no one's done it.
Yeah, right. Nobody's done it.
That's your
this way.
field.
Right.
So this idea came where I had my friend come and film me making videos for 500 of the colleges that I had performed comedy at. Literally, I said by name to every college, hey, this is for Diane Johnson at North Idaho University. This is Kyle Cease. I want to come to your school and do the lecture circuit. They were all excited I was saying their name and stuff. I had all these comics saying to me, why aren't you doing the comedy clubs? What are you making these videos for? And then maybe 100 of them said yes at a much higher rate. And all of a sudden,
Colleges you're talking
the
about.
colleges, yeah. So all of a sudden, instead of doing comedy clubs for a week for 3,000 to 5,000, all of a sudden I'm doing one college for like 10 grand, and they all were coming in, and all of a sudden you started happening in that time. Like I was working with you, and you had me do a talent show, and I spoke at a talent show, and all these other offers were coming in from other people in the audience that had other seminars. And at every event I did, everyone else would ask me to go do another gig. And then what was really big is I had a huge agency. And I have a rule that if I'm justifying keeping something, I have to let go of it. Right? Because
you shouldn't have to justify.
That's your mind explaining why you're ignoring your heart.
Right.
Because things that I do, like this career, I don't apologize or explain to anyone. I have a 6-year-old daughter. It wouldn't it be weird if I was like, well, she gets good medical, so I'll keep being her father.
Right.
But we do know what it's like to be like, I hate this job, but I will get a promotion. Or, this guy is mean to me, but he took me to a nice dinner once. I'm using justification, right, to explain why I'm ignoring my heart. So I had this one agency that I could justify, that I could keep because they were getting me auditions, but they didn't want me to do this transformational speaking. They wanted me to go back to comedy. And I heard my heart go, should I let go of them? But no one lets go of them. They big. This is like they handle Tom Hanks, right? Yeah. And I felt this thing in my heart that just goes, I'm going to let go of them. And I told them I'm dropping you. And they were like, no one drops us. And I was like, I know.
We're not droppable.
Yeah. Like
we drop you.
We drop you. And my justification was, well, they give me auditions. The next day, Gate called me, which is, for people watching, Jim Carrey and Eckhart Tolle got together and formed. Now, Jim Carrey and Eckhart Tolle is the most, if those two had a baby, I'm what would be born, right? That's the most Kyle thing. And they're also the most opposing energies, right? You could say on a scale from Eckhart Tolle to Jim Carrey, how excited are you about this, right? So you wouldn't even think they'd get together, but it almost looked like once I trusted God and followed this thing and let go of the agency, the world started mirroring what was going on inside of me.
Absolutely, that's what it does.
Right? Yeah. So then I do this talk, and now I've let go of my, I've let go of my diet. I've let go of needing to market on Facebook. I've let go of my comedy clubs. I've let go of my agency. So I didn't feel any less worthy being with them. Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
I didn't.
Absolutely.
I was like,
you were feeling yourself.
I mean, I'm someone who's past those addictive way of eating. I'm someone who's even bigger than my agency, or at least my tie to it. And so when I spoke on that stage, I ad-libbed the whole thing, and it was just like this crazy set. And then people in the audience were producers. They started offering me parts. And I was like, my justification was to keep the agency because
to get those parts
that I would have auditioned for. These were just direct offers for parts.
Yes.
And I started seeing that when you let go, right, this is the proof. It like you just create a space where it all just comes to you. And the second book I wrote is called The Illusion of Money: Why Chasing Money is Stopping You from Receiving It.
Right.
I believe we create so many hurdles for God and for people to get to us that you can't just receive how abundant you are. And it literally is just mirroring when your ego tries to force it and make it work. So much is just trying to actually just happen for you.
It is happening. We're inhibiting it.
Yes.
We can't stop it from happening.
Right.
We can only stop it from happening through us.
Right.
So you just opened yourself up. But you did something very unique when you were in comedy to become the number one you did a very special thing about calling out people's names.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've been very creative in your career the whole time.
Yeah. And you want to know something really weird is I had an idea last week that was really creative, and I actually heard something.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a higher thing go, that's an ambitious childhood me that is mirroring what my dad did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was God saying, would you trust me and not do this ambitious? Like last week I had this idea. I was like, I'm going to write down 100 people with big podcasts that I'm going to put on my podcast and have them on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw, I mean, I'm connected to a ton of comedians I know and different speakers and all these things. And I noticed it was the kid kicking in and doing the stuff. And I heard a higher me come in and go, I don't want you to do that. It goes, would you just trust me that direct God has something better? Like,
Right,
so
right.
believe it or not, I heard through the ambition because I was like, this is the next step of my life. And something higher goes, would you just trust me and sit? And I started crying out the boy. I started just being present for him because I was like, God was saying, not that it's necessarily bigger, like as far as stadiums or something, but God was going, I have bigger
Something
than that.
Yeah.
I need you to even surrender that remaining amazing way that you have. Like, can you even be with that amazing magical thing as a pattern?
Right.
Right.
That's interesting.
Even as I talk about it, I can feel energies and patterns that are like, that little boy goes, it's almost like he's saying, if I do this, and he does it very successfully, then my mom will see me.
Yeah.
So when I work with people now, I notice that when anyone has an ambitious goal, like I'm going to create this company, or this is what I'll write my book, I can almost feel under it is a pattern that says, so that I'm not unworthy.
Right.
And I believe if you try to start anything from the bearing of that pattern,
Absolutely.
life is going to knock it down.
Absolutely. Or you'll get it and it won't bring you any joy.
Right.
The happiness will be counterfeit. It only lasts for 5 minutes.
Yes. That's why so many people are starting projects and stopping them. You know how many people are like, right now it's like, what's the next answer? I'll start this relationship or I'll start, and they get 3 days in, and it's because God is showing us that pattern too much, that thing that might have been the way to do it 50 years ago, it doesn't work anymore because it's to bury something.
It's to bury or protect. And who you are is the answer.
Right.
And people are starting to discover
Yes.
that they can get A, B, C, and D, but that's not who they are.
Right.
Now, that's the added stuff. That's not the real stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the big shifts that I had in 2020 on is to shift people from, if they have a pattern that feels unworthy, I feel like old self-help goes, we're going to become worthy, right? You know, I have them saying out of the pattern is, you're allowed to be unworthy in my body. You're allowed to feel abandoned in my body.
Yeah.
You're allowed to feel abused, lost in my body. Because the pattern wants to know that it's loved by you in this now.
The pattern is just a knotted energy.
Right.
There's only one thing going on.
Right.
It's either being convoluted or it's flowing. So it's
Right.
not evil.
No. In fact, darkness just means unseen.
That's all it is. You just can't see it.
Right.
It's just a limitation of the light flowing through.
Yes.
But there's no opposite.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Tell us more about Evolving Out Loud. What is it?
Yes.
I mean,
well,
I know what it is, but I want them to know what it is.
So Evolving Out Loud was what formed
Yeah,
after
like this.
as I kept letting go. One of the things that happened also that you know, of course, is apparently unlimited content wants to talk through you.
Yeah.
I do 6-day events with not one word planned. You know,
Yeah.
everything just comes through.
Yeah.
Evolving Out Loud's premise is that I'm really coaching me. Have you ever given someone advice and then you learned from the advice you gave?
You
right?
always get the first blessing
Yes.
when you're giving anything to anybody.
Sometimes you give people advice they're not even asking. Like if someone say to me, I have a stomach ache, and I'm like, I think you should break up with her. And they're like, I'm single. And you're like, okay, this must be for me. If there's a you that gives the advice, right, and then the you that learned from the advice, there must be two yous. There's a higher you and then the egoic construct that's following the advice. Most people teach from, I learned this and this is the offering. I'm like, here's what I'm about to learn. I'll be talking from right at the edge of pain. I'll be talking right in the edge of vulnerability. And I'll work through stuff right there, you know, or be with what I feel.
Even revelations and insights.
Everything.
At birth.
Which is why we deliver it so clearly, because we're realizing that's the thing in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget an event that I did, you know, because I know that God has way better than I could ever write, right? Like the universe, miracles are normalized when you're in surrender. Well, we have an event coming called Miracles Normalized. And that's because I find that when you undo strategy, when you undo your plan, when you undo your way, when you undo your have to, and you're in surrender, you still collaborate with it, you're intentional. I don't mean people hear that and they get passive and just sit on the couch and start drinking. But like you still follow the highest truth, so you're participating, as you would say too. But I believe, and I've seen too much evidence of this, that God has so much better than my strategy. And so there's a world available where miracles are just normal. You know, when you think of something, then you think of a song, it comes on, then everyone goes, I can't believe it. What are you really saying?
Right.
I don't believe this.
Right.
I don't believe in this. We got to make it normal.
You're speaking my language exactly.
Right.
I talk about that a lot. We want to normalize the miraculous. We want to normalize the joy.
Yes.
We want to normalize the things that shock and surprise. Because right now, many people have normalized fear.
Yes.
Worry, doubt, suicide rates are up in certain
Yes.
places, certain age groups. They've normalized a sense of separation. But what they can do is break people out of that.
Yes.
Why don't you normalize joy? Try it for a day.
Yeah.
Try it for 3 days. Try it for 7 days. Try it for 90. You know?
I have a thought when you mentioned suicide. There's something that I have that was really big because I've felt that many times. I think when people go through breakthroughs, that's just a part of it. Like it's often you go through suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
And I realize something huge. It's never you that's suicidal. It's a pattern.
Yeah, it's the pattern.
And it's because it's time for that pattern to actually die.
Absolutely.
And so, for instance, if like a pattern that I've had is a feeling of a bonding with my mom that I feel like protected me, like she was my best friend. So then I'm like, please see me, world, to match my mom, right? And sometimes if you have a friend that doesn't respond and you have that pattern going, or you don't feel heard or seen, you start to feel off, unwanted, unloved. Now the old me would be like, I'm gonna use ambition and get loved and be seen.
I'm going to do something to make this happen.
The new me, I take the circumstance away. So the circumstance is, okay, let's say the circumstance, they're not calling me back, right? Then I undo the circumstance and I be with, what do I feel?
That is it. That's the teaching.
Right? So I go, I feel unloved. I feel unwanted.
It has nothing to do with them.
Then the third stage is, I tell it, you're allowed to feel unwanted. I'll walk around for the day with this pattern feeling it's stabbing me.
Yeah.
It feels so unloved and so unwanted. And I'm just like, you're allowed to feel unwanted in my body. It's learning that I'm with it and I love it, even if it's a failure, even if it's unloved.
Right.
Because we're on this planet to learn love.
Right.
So then I'm the third stage where I'm like, you're allowed to feel unwanted, whatever. This thing might feel sad for a while, but it's intentionally sad. In other words, to be alchemized.
Yes.
And then the fourth stage I have is merge with the now. Because I become the now. I'm the now. I'm the space much more than I'm the one that's overcoming the pattern.
Right.
In fact, you can't overcome the pattern because that's the pattern trying to stay alive.
Right.
Right. The ego's like, let's get over
The
this.
pattern dissolves.
The pattern dissolves, and it's
transmute it.
and it's always out of love.
Yes.
It's never out of you ambitiously getting rid of it.
Right.
And I have learned
What
that,
you just described, though, is a waking, walking meditation.
yes,
We're actually observing something without trying to get rid of it or resist it. You're observing it. You're letting it be what it is. And then it dissolves.
Yes.
Because you're more aware that you are the awareness.
Yes.
You're not the stuff passing through.
yes,
You know, I had some dental surgery a few months ago. It was 8 hours. But I went into meditation, and the dentist said, well, you know, we can do this in 2 or 3 parts. You can come in, you know, like a few weeks apart. I can put you to sleep. I said, no, I'm not going to go to sleep. We're going to do it all now. So we sat there, and they had the mind bone from one side. They had to do a whole lot of stuff. And I just would not, I felt totally into the sensation of what they were doing. I mean, I had anesthesia, but I felt totally into it and didn't avoid any of it, just was with it. All the way through, he was finished. And they said, you look like you were on vacation. I said, I felt everything you were doing. I felt the intensity of it, but I didn't label it pain.
yeah,
I just labeled it sensation.
yeah, or
And so-
love.
And so when I go into the dental office there, they come out, the people come out, the different people, and they say, this is the guy. This is the guy that sat there for all that surgery.
That's what you're recognized for now. Dude, are you Michael Beckwith? Yes, thank you. You had the dental?
The dental
That's all
guy.
they know.
That's the dental guy.
That's so funny.
But you're describing that in terms of the pain,
Yes.
in terms of the sadness, in terms of all of that. You're not trying to get rid of it. You're just looking at it. All this subjective energy. Whew.
It literally can't work anymore if it's seen,
Right.
right? If it's seen, you see through it. It's almost like the bad guy at the end of a movie.
Yeah.
The bad guy gets louder,
Yeah.
but
He's
that's
about to-
because he's caught.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
caught.
like yelling at all his assistants,
I'm
seize
gonna
him,
get
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, ego gets louder because it's breaking
That's what's
off.
happening in our society.
Yes, that's exactly how I see it.
It's exactly what's happening now. I call it pseudo powers.
Yes.
Are losing their grip.
Right,
So they have to do more and more and more and more to control the people.
right.
But they're losing because people are
I
waking
love
up.
that we both know this.
Yeah,
you know?
they're waking up.
100%. To pull off darkness,
Yeah.
you need secrecy. You can't be seen,
Right,
right? And you need time.
right.
But we're moving timelines. And so whatever strategy was implemented in the 90s that they're trying to pull off now.
30. They would try to do things 30 in advance.
Yeah.
30 years in advance.
And we're sitting here waking up. Like if you have a plan to hurt someone in a year from now, but within that time they find out about it,
Right.
they're going to put in protective measures and
Right.
you can't do it.
Absolutely.
So that's what's happening. It's like there's way too much food out of the pot and you can't get it back in
You can't get it
anymore.
back in.
And then that'll make the people within the groups that'll turn into whistleblower. You can just feel the flip of the whole
It's
thing.
all happening.
Yeah, I love that we both see it that
Well,
way.
basically, the Earth itself has become so dynamically alive. It's vibrating at a higher
Yes.
frequency, which means the timeline has changed.
Yes.
Because it's going more into the now,
Right.
which means all of what you just described they can't accomplish it
Right.
because they can only accomplish it in time and space.
Right.
But that doesn't exist.
Right. Like
you-
there's
we-
plans for next year. Isn't that funny? I can't plan tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like
But you see, I can pretend to
yeah.
just to make people comfortable.
Dude, and the amount of times that I'll just be like, I'll tell my team whatever, they're like, what decision we make, and I'll hear, I don't know, because there's more factors coming.
Yeah.
I don't know, like there's a zero thing I can tell you, and I'm fine with saying I don't know.
Right.
You know, there's a thing about I don't know that
I don't
that
know is powerful.
people are scared to say. I remember seeing a video once where Jimmy Kimmel was on the street asking people questions about things that didn't exist.
Right.
Like he would
And
say,
they'd make it up.
They make it up. He would say, were you upset when Obama and Kim Jong-un had a sleepover last night? And all these people go, I couldn't believe it. And they're making up. And I was just like, why don't you just say, I don't know?
Right.
I think of my dad when I was a kid. Billie Jean was on the radio, and I said to my dad, when he says, but the kid is not my son, what's he saying? What's the kid? My dad goes, the chair. And I go, the chair is not my son? And he goes, yeah. Now, this is why I don't know would have been a better answer. Because for 20 years,
How old
I
were
thought
you?
Michael Jackson was upset about a chair that someone gave birth
Your
to.
dad didn't want to say.
He didn't want to say, I don't know. So I just watched him.
Or maybe he didn't
pride
want you to think about
frequency.
somebody having a baby out of wedlock or something.
I don't know. But my dad was very good at just being like, I'm going to ad lib the wrong answer because saying I don't know is too
It's too
humiliating.
tough. Yeah.
But it's spiritual growth because the second you access I don't know, you go to a different frequency. You actually you what you do know is in the way
Yeah.
of what's here.
We don't know what we
know?
don't know. So it's better to live in that realm.
Yes.
Because that's where all the goodies are.
Yes.
The goodies are in the realm of the I
It's
don't know.
freedom.
It's totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at so many things that I have experienced and loved in my life. I didn't know they existed
Right.
or the possibility of them existing until they came into manifestation for me. It was
Right.
like, this is beautiful. But it wasn't on it wasn't on a vision board or anything.
Right.
It wasn't like I want to do this. It was like it emerged out of conditions within me
Right.
that then created the external condition for this person, this to happen, this to unfold, for me
Right.
to go to that country, whatever it was.
Yes.
But at the time prior, I didn't even know that.
Right.
And that's where the joy was.
And we sit here with a knowing of I don't know, but even better than that is an ongoing intention, but I know it's amazing.
yeah.
One of the big things for me also is my biggest intention truly, as you said when you were reading that intro, is to know what I am.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, instead of know what I can do, because that'll be a byproduct.
That's it.
I want to know what I am.
That's it.
I'm fascinated by knowing what I am, and then every single thing, whether it's seemingly good or bad, is moving me towards more of what I am.
Yes.
right? So
and the
I'm
more
like,
expression of who you are as well.
yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because there's just some remaining distortion here that I already know is here. So
Yeah.
I already know it's going to go.
Yeah.
I think David Hawkins said, it's because you desire enlightenment that it's your destiny.
And the Buddha said something very similar. Once you even hear the word enlightenment,
Yes.
your destiny is curated already.
Right.
You know, and then you hear it on different levels. You hear it, and then you're inspired by it, and then you develop some kind of intention or practice. Once you hear it, it's over for you.
Yes.
It's over for the ego.
Yeah.
Don't say that word around me.
I have a video on YouTube called The Calling, and its point is that if you have callings, but then you say this sentence, that's not like me to do, just so you know it's not like your pattern,
Right.
and the fact that it's calling to you
Right.
that's you,
Yeah.
and what you've done isn't you.
Isn't you? Right.
Right?
It's a temporary launching place.
Yeah.
This strange attractor field pulls you.
That's you.
That's you. It's you. It's you pulling you.
Yeah.
The question that I like is, how can it get better than this?
Yes.
Ego thinks something's going bad,
Yes.
or whether you think something's going really well, because you're an infinite being. There's always more.
Yes.
So how can it get better than this?
And I literally see that all the time, even with the, like, sometimes you'll feel major triggers and trauma, but that's because it's about to be alchemized.
Right.
But with everything going on, even what you said, like the dark force is trying to run the world,
Right.
I'm like, oh, what's trying to happen?
Yeah. What's trying to be birthed?
What? I mean,
What am I midwifing?
yeah.
You know.
And I also believe, too, quite a bit of this, it's birthing through you. Like each person, it's almost like we're each in our own simulation, because it's like the same day that you purge some revelation in yourself and get something, the external has the exact same story.
Yeah. You see it everywhere.
Everything suddenly matches
It's like a
what
big
your purge
Rorschach
was.
test.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I know what that is.
And it's so big to me to only, literally, that's the main thing to work on. That's the first thing, is just what am I and my connection to source. That's it. Not what can I do, not how do I build the biz. Like sometimes God will tell me we're not working. Like it might be like throw out the company, you know, or it might be like take time off so you can show yourself, because the ambitious mind goes, I just need to get more.
Yeah.
But God will be like, I need you to show me you don't need this now. And it will only give you what you need.
Legitimate needs.
Yeah.
I call those legitimate needs, because what you want is sometimes immature.
Right.
It's an immature wanting that, if you do get it, it doesn't provide any joy or any lasting joy.
Or it's filling a childhood pattern. Like now my
imaginary
dad
hole.
sees I'm legitimate.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? Now my dad says good job. Now my mom sees that I'm enough. Like it's a weird premise that, like, if you were a kid and you're bullied at school and then you go to a certain type of make it happen type seminar and they say something like, you're going to show them who you are. Your motivation is still them.
I got something about that, because I talk about different stages of motivation. And one of them is, I'll show them.
Right.
That creates the pollution of separation.
Yes.
You know, then there's another level of motivation. I'll do it for them, like kids or whatever. I'll do it for my family. That becomes martyrdom. You get burnt out. Then
yes.
the highest level is actually your soul's calling you to be yourself.
Yes.
You know, there's no pollution there because you're still in the sense of oneness. You know.
And it's all win-win-win. That's nature, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no pollution, there's no, you know, it's perfect. And what you directly with God, not in competition or better than or less than,
Comparing any of that.
ironically, is so much better than you in your competitive state.
Right.
But you are completely free of, in fact, you're encouraging through your actions everyone else to be in that same space.
And your vibration is lifting.
Right.
People become better in your presence. They don't even know why.
Yes.
They feel light. They feel loved. They feel seen.
Right.
And you're just laughing. You're just hanging out.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. The days that I meditate pretty much 2 hours a day.
Yeah,
and the
that's
days
good.
that I really get some good meditations in, I notice people around me just start tearing up.
Yeah.
You know, there's a release, there's permission. They'll start saying, even if I didn't tell them I was meditating, I got to start meditating more. You're just like seeing that mirror all the time. I have a thing with meditation I call break up single soulmate. I don't know if I've ever told you this.
Break up single soulmate.
So I know when I meditate for an hour, I always make sure I at least get an hour and don't interrupt it. Like don't grab the phone in the middle, right?
Absolutely.
The first half an hour is the breakup. It's a breakup with an egoic construct.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
So I'm aware, right, that I'm meditating, and I know that it's going to be painful for a minute because everything I thought I was is about to be peeled off of me. It's like when you pull that thing off the watch, you realize there was a cellophane.
Yeah.
after 30 minutes, so if I get to 30 minutes, almost always around 30 minutes, it's like for 15 minutes, okay, there's no egoic construct. There's nothing else. It's kind of like it's just free and single, right? At 45 minutes, I have what I call 45, 46 minutes, soulmate, meaning like $1 million idea shows up. Next step, unlimited worthiness, total abundance, the actual truth of what you are that was here, but was clouded by your, you know what I mean? Yeah. So when I meditate, people always say to me, I don't know how you have time to meditate. How are you doing 2 hours a day? And I go, I don't know how you have time to not.
Right.
Because I will think to myself when I wake up, God, I got to call this person, this person. Then I listen to silence for 2 hours and I go, I don't have to call any of those people.
Oh, you know the ones to call.
Or like the ones that I was going to call out of like fixing some trauma or please see me, that's all gone. And I'm only doing what my heart wants to do versus what I think I have to do out of some obligation that's a trauma pattern. Right. And so I go, I don't know how people can carry all those suitcases all day and manage, because like literally every meditation is me going, okay, here's yesterday's suitcases.
We're on the same track, because people will say to me, you meditate every day? I said, yes. You're like a Superman. How can you do that all? I said, no, if I was Superman, I wouldn't have to do this.
Right.
If I was Superman, I wouldn't have to meditate. I just got laser, I'd fly and all that stuff. I said, but I have to do it. What I call what you just described, after a period of time, I could say the bottom drops out. It's like, the bottom just drops out. And I'm just...
And every day, for the first part of the meditation, you watch as your mind scrambles with
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
You know...
And then it drops out.
I don't let it get up and say, well, you need to call, no. Then the bottom drops out. And I'm good. And then what needs to be taken care of will be taken care of. Grace happens.
Yes.
Sometimes it's taken care of before I can do something.
Yes.
You know, it's like it's the answers. Oh, it's okay. We got it. You're good.
You just reminded me of something. I'll never forget when one time I was at Rhythmia, I did ayahuasca. There was a woman that I dated in 2012 who was a very sweet woman. And when we broke up, we didn't, we broke up, but we still hung out every day. So the words were there, but the actions were still, she and I are hanging out by default. And I noticed I had this pain in my body when it came to the idea of moving forward, because if I actually moved into a new relationship or like stopped that, I could feel my fear of her feeling abandoned, which is actually my projection of me being abandoned.
Right.
So one day
she's waiting for you to get out of here.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. She's like, could you go? I hear it. Spiritual, whatever. So one day I do ayahuasca and I get nauseous because you throw up sometimes. And I see an image of her swimming around in my stomach. Then I throw up and she comes out of my mouth and I see her flapping around like a fish with her head in the bucket, right? I then float over her bed and I tuck her in and like I decide I'm moving forward and I break off and I realize I feel completely free of the abandonment thing. The next morning she texts me that she met a new person. It was almost like I believe it was this. My unconscious tie breaking off freed me. And so...
Psychically freed her too.
It freed her too.
Yeah.
And that's real stuff. That these cords, like I believe in our body are little trauma patterns that the universe goes, I got to get that out of you. So I'm going to take away from you anything that you think is the answer to your life so you can see you're enough without it.
Absolutely.
Meaning like if you're like, who I am is my money, but that's all covering up some trauma, like whatever.
We see that a lot.
The universe goes, I'm going to take that from you. If a guy walked by me with a glass of water and was like, I'm worried I'm going to drop it, you would help me by taking it from me. And everything that you think you have that is the answer to your life, you cannot lose this person, you cannot lose this relationship, this job, the universe has to remove from you so you can see you're alive still without it, but then also look at the pattern that comes up.
Right.
And you can finally be present for it and heal it. Then weirdly, a lot of times better or more money can come in, but it's not the answer to your life. You are.
Absolutely.
Right?
This has been great, man.
You're great, man.
Evolving out loud. Tell us how people can learn about that. Where can they find you?
The best thing I have, the best thing I'm doing is something I'm proud of. I've done for 5 years now. It's called the Absolutely Everything Pass. It's my online membership site. It has every course that I've ever done. I mean, we probably 20 courses there, you know, different live events, courses, different things, entrepreneurial. Also, I do a live event every Sunday where I do a talk and then a meditation. I answer questions on Wednesday. We do a thing on Tuesday and Thursday called It's Totally Possible, where people get into a room and with each other, they just list, it's totally possible that I'm freeing myself. It's totally, and when they do this exercise, it's crazy. And we do hot seats where I'll bring someone on and I'll shift them in front of the audience, right? There's about 1,000 hours backlogged of content now. And, you know, there's about 6 events live a week that you can just pick and choose and come on. For the public, it's $7.95 for a year, because I mean, we're running a huge thing here. There's thousands of people on. But if anyone here wants to get it, there's a code Beckwith that will make it $2.99 for a year.
I didn't know this. This is a surprise.
Yeah, I just came up with the team and like we'll give a discount because anyone that knows you is I love them. I mean, you were so special to me. I've done a ton of podcasts and I do them almost all on Zoom. When I heard that you want to do one, I was like, I'm coming into town, man. You're a huge part of what I needed to get the tools to find what I was. And I know that I really believe there's a part of me that wouldn't have known what I've learned. And I don't know if I would be alive. And I know that many people tell you that, but you having the courage to say yes to that, you know, created the space for me to do the same. And I just needed one voice, you know, and you were the one. I mean, I've worked with a lot of transformational speakers, but you became like a close friend. You became someone I could talk to when I was going through really hard times. You became so many things to me and just this person that means so much to me. So I'm grateful for you. And I know your life is people telling you that, but know that
I appreciate you. And I appreciate, I remember those moments.
Yeah.
And I've watched you evolve through that darkness and all those heavy moments, but you took it on. And you took it on exactly the way you've just taught here today.
Yeah.
You've actually went in, embraced it, watched it, allowed it to dissolve, and allowed you to birth yourself in greater capacity. It's beautiful.
It's weird.
And now you're touching all these people because of that too.
Well, that means that you are too. You know what I mean? Because you're in this, right? So that's going, and anyone that inspired you at first, it's a crazy thing.
It's a crazy thing. I was just talking about that with somebody. At dinner with somebody, and they, you know, asked me about. I have people out there, satellites. I have teachers. I have practitioners. I have ministers. I have all these people. Then I have people who started their own organizations that came through me. And she said, you know, you can't really put a number on the people that you're touching,
right? Because
all these people are touching millions of people, and you help get them started. You know, so and here we are. I don't know how many people we'll talk to, but so many. That's going to talk to so many people.
Right.
You know.
I mean, imagine if one person saw this and started meditating a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, that changes the whole
This
world.
doesn't scare them. Start where you can.
Start where you can.
And then build up.
You know, one thing people say is funny.
But if you do too, that's great.
My mind is too busy to meditate.
That's funny.
That's kind of like saying I'm too chubby to go to the gym.
Right.
I promise you, if you go, that's going to change.
Right.
But one of the things I notice that when people meditate, sometimes they'll say, I didn't get anything.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't get anything.
That's a whole nother topic.
Well,
just meditation itself.
And I think that's the practice is going, can you do it? What God's trying to show you is, can you undo your agenda?
Yes.
And meditate because it's that guarantee that you'll get something that actually traps you.
Yeah.
It's that I'll take a job because I see what I'm getting paid,
right,
versus like, I want to know what I am. I don't know what the money is, yet you're making yourself so magical and unique. You're going to be worth so much more.
Right.
Not that this is about money, but meditation too. It's like undo the agenda. If you meditate and you go, I didn't get anything, it's actually trying to show you your pattern that's addicted to getting things.
Right.
It's bringing that to light.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It becomes another addictive pattern.
Right. And so you're the one that sees that.
The meditation is about letting go. It's about letting go. Spiritual growth, development, and unfoldment is not about gain. All growth is about letting go.
Yes.
Patterns, perceptions, limited points of view, traumas, interpretation of traumas, whatever. You're letting all that go.
Yes.
And then what's there is pristine. It's already beautiful. You can't add anything to what God has made. You can reveal it.
You know what's amazing to me too is that your evidence of, if you keep following that, you know, obviously it's going to keep releasing false parts of you and you just keep growing. That's why you look younger as you keep going. Like I think of the people that clearly have a consciousness. Like I think of like Esther Hicks or Wayne Dyer. They got better as they kept getting older.
Yeah, that's what happens
know?
in this work, though.
And I remember one time, I'm not to talk negative, but I remember one time a guy that was a singer I met, and he was a singer from an old band, and he wanted me to know he was that guy, but he wasn't the now. And I could tell that he was like, I need you to know I'm this famous thing from a while ago.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that when we go, I'm that past thing, we're now stuck to it and we're missing out on this.
Yes.
And then it's like speeding up the aging.
Yes.
It's almost, and because he was off tune singing it.
Yes.
It was like that God part was gone because he was more the fame from the past than the now.
He was a caricature
and
of
that's,
himself.
Right. And that's why even though I'm like, I've done so many cool things and you've done so many cool things, we're just now.
Just now getting started.
Just getting started.
Just now, yeah.
And it's like, what's coming? And I don't know. I'm just what's now, but like what's leaving is absolute false use. So you can get younger and younger. I know I should shut up.
No, we keep going on. Because I was just thinking, this like a week or two ago, this feeling came over me. I get this feeling when something new is about to take over my life, and I can remember I was at a Silmar. And that feeling came over to me, and then Agape got birthed. I can remember it came over me a couple of weeks ago, and it came over me in a couple of days after that. I can feel it on me now. It's like, I don't know what it is, but I heard it speak through me on Sunday, and the energy just went, wow, and it just flow. And so I'm just sitting, I'm not trying to make anything happen, but I'm aware that something is being born in me right now. I'm not trying to figure it out.
Right.
I'm just saying, come on. I've already said yes to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm with you completely.
Yeah.
It's so weird to be like, so many things have happened and they're nothing compared to what's arising right now. And the biggest thing I told my audience that I learned from you is that one question, which is a clip they can see on YouTube also, where I talk about you, called The Greatest Question I've Ever Been Asked.
Right.
What's trying to emerge out of you? You know, a way I see that is like a caterpillar is on a stick,
right,
and there's a wall blocking it.
Right.
The victim caterpillar will turn around and go away.
Right.
The buy me, make it happen achievement caterpillar is going to crawl over it no matter what.
Right.
Our caterpillar,
right,
in through me or as me, is going to sit there for 11 days and become something
else.
That this thing is irrelevant now.
Right. It fly away.
Right. So this is the different stages, like really like, oh, like something's happening to me.
I remember you did a comedy thing on those 4 stages at one point.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
I mean, the to me, by me, through me, as me 4 stages, and I have my own interpretation too.
Yeah.
I wonder what the comedy was. I
can't remember. You hit the little boxes. You were.
Oh, yeah.
I called you in and you did this whole thing on the. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
you owned it, and it was beautiful.
Well, I feel 2020 for me was the shift from through me to as me.
Yeah.
Because as me includes the negative.
Yeah.
You know, the patterns, right?
Yeah.
I used to just keep going to higher vibration out of some
you got to do
shame.
your whole humanity.
High here is the new high.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it used to be like, I'm going to get it so good and get higher and higher. That's like being in Vegas and going, I'm going to win all the time.
Yeah.
The goal is also to get out of Vegas.
With the winnings, in the depth of the spirit, there's no high or low.
Right.
It just is.
Yes. And God in the now sees all of it. So it loves even the shame in your body and the guilt.
It can't see anything different.
Right.
Man, we better stop.
I know.
We're going to have to cease right now.
Oh, and I forgot to mention the website.
Go ahead.
If they want Absolutely Everything Pass, go to absolutelyeverything.tv, and you can join me there, and you'll be a guest on it.
Yes, I'm going to be a guest on it.
Yes, and please come. I promise you, the biggest comment we have about it truly is how much money people save, or how much money people spend when they don't have it. Mm-hmm. Because they make higher level decisions, so they stop buying the alcohol and stop buying the addictive things and moving to a higher place in their soul and making bigger decisions. So join us on the Absolutely Everything Pass.
This is Kyle. He's a strong Instagram presence as well, right?
Yeah. I'm there and all kinds of stuff. But you're the best, man. I love you.
Love you too, brother.
Yeah.
It's always good.
So good
I'm
to
glad
see
you flew in to be with me.
I couldn't do this on Zoom, man. You're too special.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Life is magnificent. Let it shine through you. Taking back your mind from worry and allowing yourself to feel into a greater awareness that life wants to live through and as you. Peace and blessings. Blessings to you. This is our moment of meditation, and you may have seen an underlying but not hidden theme of Take Back Your Mind. Almost every guest that I have uses the word meditation. All of the beings that I bring forward to have a dialogue with, who are in the world, uplifting, inspiring, healing, transforming lives, they all use the word meditation. So far, probably 100%. So this is why meditation is so important to this particular program. It's difficult to go out into the world and to make things better if you're unhealed, if you're not better, if you're not having insights into who and what you really are. You can go out and you'll make a mess based on your unhealed places within you. So meditation is extremely important in discovering what you are, who you are, where you are, why you are. The W's. Who, what, why, where, and when. So as you meditate, as I teach in my meditation classes, those things open up. What are you? You are an emanation of the only life that there is. You can call it God, you can call it source, you can call it life. Who are you? You are a unique expression of the what. This presence doesn't repeat itself, so you are the only you that will ever exist. Where are you? At the very center of the cosmos. The very center of it, because the center is everywhere. Why are you? You exist to actually reflect the entire cosmos according to your unique pattern. When are you? Meditation. Now. Past, the present, and the future are tenses in time. There's the past, there's the present, and there's the future. There are people who live in the past, there are people who live in the present, and there are people who live in the future. But none of those three tenses are the eternal now. They're still bits and pieces of that which we call time. Let's turn within. Bring your attention away from the world. Establish a vibrational intention to wake up from the intoxicated sleep of separation from life. Become keenly aware that this genius body is doing so many things on a subconscious level. You're not consciously extracting oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen from the air to keep the body alive. No, it's happening automatically, subconsciously. You're not consciously pumping your heart. No, that's happening on the subconscious level, but you're grateful for it. The body's breathing presently. The present is a doorway to the now. Come. We come out of the past. The past is where shame and blame live. We come out of the future. The future is where ambition and anxiousness lives. We come out of the present. The present is where vanity or embarrassment lives. You're embarrassed in the present, or you can be vain in the present. But the eternal now, life, beauty, love, abundance, joy, eternal qualities of the Spirit. Now, now, now. We give thanks for the nowness of this moment, and we allow life, capital L life, to have its way with us, that we can live in the vibration of spontaneous goodness. And so it is. Peace and blessings, everyone. Life is good. Remember to support the main sponsor of our podcast. Go to agapelive.com. That's an entry into the Agape International Spiritual Center, which is the sponsor of this podcast. Leave a kind word, perhaps, a note, make a donation in honor of the podcast as well. Also, you've heard me mention that you can go to NutraRise and find Adapta-Zen. Adapta-Zen is the product of the superfood greens and the vitamin D3K2. You can subscribe to the bundle. You'll be not only supporting the sponsor of the podcast, one of the sponsors, but you'll also be supporting your great health. Health is wealth. Have a beautiful day. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for lending us your ear and participating in taking back your mind. If you want to submit a question for the question of the week, please submit it to podcast@michaelbeckwith.com. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please submit a review and let us know your thoughts. Stay on top of current episodes by subscribing to the podcast so that you'll receive alerts and not miss one single episode. And feel free to share this podcast with all of your friends and family. And until we meet again, take back your mind, and you will take back your life. Peace and blessings.